Oh, yeah,
It's not the clan. It's not the clans. It's Ugin who's wrong.
That's right. Man, and then the Dragon Lord. Oh, God, it's such a good set. Hey, you are watching the MTG Thoughtcast. It's a Commander podcast that's brought to you by these two brothers here that have both been playing the game since the first cons of Tarkir, and we're back today talking about the debut stream for Tarkir Dragonstorm. I'm one of those brothers. My name's Joseph, and across the screen or across your ears is my boy, my homeboy himself, John Kendall. John, what is up, my dude?
John Kendall of the Teamer clan.
Yes. Hoo ha ha. Hoo ha ha. Shark bait.
Hello, everybody. Good evening, good morning, good middle of the night. Oh boy, 3 a.m.
That's right. John, what time do you listen to the podcast?
Well, as the editor, I listen to it all the time, but...
Yeah. But like, if you're going to listen back to it, when are you listening back to it?
I'm a morning listener person, actually.
Oh, I'm a nighttime listener. It takes me like 4 days to watch it back because I just watch it as I'm falling asleep. Oh, man. Guys, like we said, this is the MTG Thoughtcast. You're here. We're doing it. We're about to talk about Tarkir. Before we do, there's quite a few buttons that are down below this video. If you just go down and hit all of those, we can just speed right past this whole thing. You can just go to the next timestamp. Also, while you're down there, you can join our Discord. Link down below. Totally free. We hang out there. We play Magic games. We build decks. It's a lovely time. You should come hang out with us. Let's talk about Tarkir, John. Are you ready?
Yeah, talk about Tarkir. Also, for our Spotify listeners, we appreciate you too. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. We love you. Leave a 5-star review. Was that a kissy sound? Craig didn't catch it up.
Okay.
John, Tarkir holds a very special place in both of our hearts, does it not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Then we've shared on here a couple times before over our Magic history that you and I collectively have kind of we've gone into the game prior to this world, but Tarkir, the original block, is something that like you and I definitively, we were in this together. We attended like all of these pre-releases. We were playing standard. We built were you building commander decks around this time as well?
Yeah.
Or were we
Actually,
not quite there yet?
This is a good question for you. Where did Conspiracy fall in the line between Theros and Cons? Because that's when I started building commander decks, was Conspiracy.
I think Conspiracy was after this block, but...
Gotcha. So I wasn't playing commander yet, but...
we were still babies.
Babies. Yeah, because both of our first commander decks was a Conspiracy, remember? It was...
Yes.
You had Brago, I had Marchesa. It was very sweet. Tarkir, though, was our first, like... I obviously loved Theros when it came out, but, like, Tarkir... for just like two young men was like, you're gonna give me a whole set about dragons? I'm so in. I'm completely in here.
Technically not even dragons until the second set, right? Cons, its whole defining thing was the dragons are dead. That was the beginning of Tarkir's history.
Oh, I didn't even remember that that's what it was. They were dead and the Cons had taken their place. Fate Reforged is you go back in time with Ugin. Will you bring Ugin back from back in time, right?
Saved his life from back in time. Yep.
Right. So now, yes, Dragons of Tarkir was the third set, which was an alternate present.
Mm-hmm.
See, this whole like messing with the timelines and universes thing is not new for Magic. The Omen Paths, the Wars of the Sparks, none of that is new. This has all been happening. Oh, yeah.
It's not the clan. It's not the clans. It's Ugin who's wrong.
That's right. Man, and then the Dragon Lord. Oh God, it's such a good set. That was when we started playing, roughly. So it's very special to us. So our first main set, Return to Tarkir, is happening this year, and we just had the debut stream for it.
It's excellent. Yes, I'm very stoked to see this. Like we've now gone up above and beyond of like what we last left off on from Dragons of Tarkir, right? Dragons, it had this concept of like, oh, the clans and the dragons are kind of together now, but The wedge coloring is completely gone because the dragons are ruling their supremacy. What's going on in this set in specific is that those humanoid clan members, they took the power of the dragons to themselves and like completely above. Like if you notice, like all the old dragon lords are dead now. They're all completely gone. And so now it's not only the dragons that are kind of trying to take control of things, but like the dragon storms themselves, that's the whole premise of this set, is going way overboard, out of control. So all this talk of dragon storms, and we were bringing up about our boy Ugin beforehand. Let's start with him as we're going to be talking about cards here. He's literally kind of at the centerfold. He's at the centerfold of all this going on here.
Yep, for sure.
Ugin, Eye of the Storms, is 7 generic mana for a legendary planeswalker. Ugin comes in with 7 loyalty counters, 2 non-loyalty abilities on him here. When you cast this spell, you exile up to 1 target permanent that has 1 or more colors. And then a separate line that says, whenever you cast a colorless spell, exile up to 1 target permanent that's 1 or more colors.
He just grants that to every artifact that you cast after him. Like, if you... Oh my god. We haven't even talked about the abilities. That's just like... I would play this card if it was just the stat. Like, it's... I mean, obviously it can't get colorless things. So you can't get lands. You can't get artifacts, non-colored artifacts, things like that. You can't get Devoid Eldrazi. But you certainly can get every creature and planeswalker and enchantment and all of these goodies, and it just grants that to everything after it as well. It turns every mana rock in your hand into a nuke a non-land permanent card. Oh my god.
It's so dumb. And he continues.
Okay, let's move on. No, let's move on, dude.
He continues to his +2 that gains you 3 life and draws you a card, his 0 that adds you 3 colorless mana, and your -11 that searches your library for any number of colorless non-land cards, exile them, then shuffle. Until end of turn, you may cast those cards without paying their mana cost.
A classic cast my deck and destroy every other colored permanent on the battlefield. Dude, I literally was sitting here thinking like, oh yeah, this would be like really cool to play with like a Tormod's Crypt after it. But no, he just grants you 3 mana. He just rebates you to where he's a 4 mana nuke everything. Oh my god. They are smoking something designing this card. This one definitely sneaked through the cracks.
He's definitely going to be one of the powerhouses of the set, but
certainly
we have an entire set's worth of stuff to start going on about, Joseph. I know you
do.
You ran down some notes that they covered as far as like what the clans are up to now. So you want to get us some headway on that?
Yeah, if you didn't watch the stream, I would recommend going to watch it. It was all of the debut streams happen on Magic's official Twitch account, but I'm sure there's replays out there on probably the Magic official YouTube account. So I wanted to quickly talk about some of the new mechanics that they're introducing into this. So for those who weren't around for original Tarkir, so on and so forth, the set was divided into, it's wedges, right? It's not shards. It's
wedges. That is correct. Yep.
What that means is if you look at the back of a Magic card, which I conveniently have right here. If you look at the back of a Magic card, it's 5 colors. John will also pull a little graphic over there. So the wedges are it's 2 allied colors and 1 enemy color, which makes a wedge of the color pie as compared to shards, like Shards of Alara. So you're like Mardu here, which is black, red, and white, is your wedge, and then Naya is your white, red, and green. That's your shard. So that's how, when people talk about wedges and shards, this is your 101 on that. So there's a return of where is it? Oh, yes, the sieges. There's a return of the sieges, which were originally like these enchantments that when they come in, you picked either cons or dragons. These were from Fate Reforged. You picked either cons or dragons. Yep. And then once it lands, you just do the ability of the thing that you chose. It was usually every upkeep. So it was like those. They're introducing 2 color sieges, using those the allied colors. No, it would be the enemy ones, wouldn't it?
The two colors that are shared amongst multiple clans. Yes.
Exactly. Right. So, and you're just picking which of the clans it is. So you're either picking Timur or you're picking Jeskai because they both share blue-red for those.
Yep.
So it's cool. It's rather than showing the fight between the Khans and the dragons, it's now showing the fights between the clans.
Right.
So it's awesome.
The card you're referencing is Frostcliff Siege. 1 blue and a red for an enchantment. As it enters, you choose Jeskai or Timur. Jeskai gives you whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. And Timur gives creatures you control 1/0 and trample and haste.
Yeah.
It's neat. It's super cool. I like these. It gives you the flexibility of like if for obviously when you play this in like say limited, this is a 2-color thing that you can get down and gives you the advantages of whatever like clan you're going to be playing at. And then for commander purposes, if you are in a 3-color plus style deck, this gives you some cool abilities and some flexibility to try some things outside of what your 3 colors are looking to do.
Totally. And like for me, I think the Jeskai ability seems a bit more strong on this one of, whenever a creature you control deals damage to a player, deals combat damage specifically. Got you, Niv Mizzet. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player drawing a card, that's a card that I play in a lot of my decks to begin with. So any of those that are red-blue, you get to play this and just in that slot, but then have added flexibility, which seems like we talk about this every episode of how important flexibility is in your decks. So having these things, it's like, well, when you need it to be card draw, it's card draw. And when you need it to close out a game, it's going to close out the game. So love me some sieges. So that's the sieges. That's the kind of mechanics of how Tarkir, this is the setting of Tarkir. Some of the specific new mechanics is hybrid mana. Let's talk about that one first. And it's specifically hybrid mana that's either colored or colorless. The card I want to talk about that's showcasing hybrid mana is Rakshasa's Bargain, which is a busted uncommon. I'm going to talk about this again come a couple months when we talk about cards you missed. So Rakshasa's Bargain is 2 or a black, 2 or a green, and 2 or a blue for an instant that says, look at the top 4 cards of your library, 2 to your hand, rest to your graveyard. That is sick. That is just a perfect little enabler. And the best part about it is that its CMC is technically 6. So you always go by whatever the highest option is. So like you can play this in a Cascade deck and Cascade is going to sneak under it. So like unless you're doing Cascade 6, like Cascade 5 and down will not hit Rakshasa's Bargain. It also like triggers up the Beanstalk for 3 mana for like a 6 converted mana cost card. It's really good with obviously you're not playing, if you're playing Yuriko in the 99, you have another 3 mana card that technically costs 6. Again, like the list goes on for how valuable having hybrid mana, especially one like this and the flexibility that comes with it, it's just bananas. So this is such a broken card. John, as we get into some of the real mechanics of the set. Oh, sorry, did you want to say something about Rakshasa's Bargain?
Good. Yep. Go ahead.
Cool. As we get into it, would you talk about Omen? Because I think Omen's a mechanic that you're going to like a lot. That would be on, like, there's a blue dragon that has Omen.
So you would think I would like Omen, but I actually think this is a terrible mechanic.
Interesting. Let's talk about it. Okay. So talk to me about, like, Meringue River Regent.
Sure. So Omen is going to be sort of a new play on the kind of cards that they have done like with Adventures, where it's like a creature you can cast for its normal casting cost, and then it has half the card split away that has usually an instant or a sorcery there. And in this case, instead of being called Adventures, these are called Omens. So in the case of Meringue River Regent, it normally is a 4 and double blue 6/7 flying dragon that when this creature enters, returns up to 2 other target non-land permanents to their owner's hands. However, this does also have an omen called Coil and Catch. For 3 and a blue, it's an instant omen. Draw 3 cards, then discard a card. And then this shuffles into your owner's library. So that's the difference instead of adventure. Adventures send them off into exile that you can then cast the creature. Omens, if you cast the omen thing, the card shuffles into your library.
Right. That's I like it. I don't know. You seem to be not as hot on it as me.
Why do you think it's good? And then I'll tell you why it's bad.
It allows them to make both more powerful adventures and more powerful creature sides for adventures. Because the problem with adventures is that both of those cards have to be overcosted. So you're going to be, again, it's the cost of having flexibility on something. So like your Beanstalk Giant, which is one of my favorite adventure cards, is 3 mana to go and find 1 basic land into play. That's overcosted. Or it's like 6 or 7 mana to make this like thing that cares about your lands. It's a vanilla creature is what it makes on the other side. So like both of those are totally fine. You wouldn't play either of them on their own, but you've got the flexibility of having both of those stapled onto one thing. What Omen is doing is it's going, we can just print busted instants and sorceries and busted creatures and just slap them onto each other, because you're never going to get both at the same time. It's always going to be flexible. So it's like, think of the fuse cards from Return to Ravnica versus the split cards like Fire and Ice. So your fuse cards have to be overcosted because you can get both at once. Your like split cards where you can only choose one of them, they're significantly, but Fire and Ice is legacy playable. Like, so Omen to me feels like a more powerful version of split cards, because you can cast the instant and sorcery side and then still get access to that thing later on in your deck.
So here's my problem is you say that you're going to have access to potentially, I mean, again, if you end up redrawing the card with Omen on it, that you could do either the Omen or the creature side. Is that ever going to happen? Like 60 constructed is obviously a much smaller deck size than us for Commander. Are you ever going to see the same card again in Commander if you were to shuffle this into your library? So to me, cards with Omen doesn't even matter that it's a split card, because you're only ever going to have one of them in that game, ever. If you do the Omen, that creature is gone forever, most likely, unless you are doing very heavy card draw abuse things anyway, in which case you don't care that you've drawn this again. You're drawing your deck.
I see where you're coming from, and I think you have a very valid stance on it. I think that you're maybe discounting how heavy card draw is in Commander anyway, how heavy tutoring is, and also the value of shuffling your deck. So like having more Omen cards in your deck makes Brainstorm a better card anyway.
Okay. So then the card that we were talking about then is a 4 mana draw 3 discard 1, something you're going to want to do on repeat?
Oh, well, it fits in that point of the curve. So again, like if you draw it early, it acts as a draw 3 discard a card at instant speed, which is good. That's on rate. 4 mana to draw 2 cards at instant speed is the current on rate for a regular card. And then later in the game, if you draw it, because you don't have to cast either side of it. Again, it's a split card where like the second half of the split card is super valuable, even if you're not going to cast it very often. So again, we talk about flexibility. This is super flexible of like, I'm totally cool casting this first side of it early on if I need the card draw. Obviously, I would rather play a 6 mana 6/7 dragon with flying when it enters return up to 2 other non-land permanents to its owner's hand. Obviously, I want double mana war on a dragon. Duh. Like
I don't know.
Yeah, I certainly want this.
I'm not a fan. I think you will not see the cards come back as often as you would want to, especially in Commander. So That's just me. But
cool.
What else we got?
Hey, that's kind of the whole point of the game, isn't it? This is where we get into the Urza Mishra brother part of the podcast.
I want my big powerful creature now.
I want Phyrexia. Cool. Next mechanic is Renew, which was previewed on a black card. It's sort of like Flashback, except it's an activated ability from the graveyard. So let's talk about right here. Oh, Quarcy Revenant, dude. Did you see this card?
New Batman.
Vampire Nighthawk Plus. So it's 1 black for a 3/3 with Flying, Death Touch, and Lifelink. First of all, my God. And then it has this new ability called Renew, which is 3 mana and exile this card from your graveyard. Put a fly counter, a death touch counter, and a lifelink counter on target creature. So it just staples its abilities onto something as an activated ability from the graveyard. We've seen abilities like this before. They're just keywording it as Renew now.
I love it. This is so cool. I
Yes.
dig this a lot. Being able to get extra, and especially on like this one being a very good example of this is like who's going to end up in the graveyard faster than a Vampire Nighthawk style type of card, you know?
Yeah.
They're either going to not block this thing and you'll just stabilize in a deck that's going to be using this perpetually, or this is going to throw itself under the bus either attacking or blocking something stupid and you just get its abilities right back again.
Yep. Exactly. It's ridiculous. Quasi Revenant is stupid. It is certainly going to see play in every format that it's legal.
Absolutely. Big fan of Renew.
It's also notably a vampire, which I didn't mention. So relevant creature.
Aha.
So yeah, again, we've seen Renew in almost every set. They're just keywording it for this one. Now, one that we've not seen a ton of that is now being keyworded is Flurry, which is an ability that's been previewed mostly on red cards, maybe only on red cards. But it just gives you benefit for playing your second spell. So it's an ability that triggers when you cast your second spell each turn.
Yeah, there's a sick Tygum that's got Flurry. He's very cool. Did you see that one?
Which one? Where is it?
Tygum, Master Opportunist. He's 1 and a blue for a 2/2 human monk with Flurry. When you cast your second spell each turn, copy it, then exile the spell you cast with 4 time counters on it. If it doesn't have Suspend, it gains Suspend.
Oh, that is so sick. Yeah.
You get to firstly, you talk about Flurry. It's just kind of as simple as it says. It's just as soon as you go to do your second spell of any kind, creature, non-creature, artifact, enchantment, whatever. If you have something down with Flurry that says it'll just check to see if you've done that as your second spell. And the card with Flurry can be your first spell as well, by the way. You can cast a thing with Flurry and then just cast another thing right after it, and it will see that next spell as your second spell.
So good. This is a classic rewards you for playing the game card that if you can just get in a place where you're casting 2 spells a turn, A, you're already doing really well, and B, you're going to get benefited by playing Flurry cards in and amongst all of that.
Tygum's a unique case because he's also coming with an extra like cameo keyword on him as well, but like it's so stupid, right? You just get your second spell, he'll give you a copy of that spell so you are still having whatever you cast come down and play. Then what you originally played will be coming down for you later in 4 turns.
Now, as well, Flurry just cares about each turn. It doesn't need to be your turn. So
it's also stupid.
Yeah,
I love it.
You can like play Tygum and then play Gitaxian Probe or something and just like get a free card draw, and then in a few turns you're going to get another one. Following turn, play 2 instants and get to exile the second of those with Suspend. Like again, you brainstorm something and then you play your Omen spell, and oh god, how does that work? Wait a second. Oh no, I broke my brain. Oh no.
All right, we're not here to start thinking about the math, but just like it's cool, like you said, and any game mechanic that just rewards you for playing, regardless what kind of strategy you're looking to do, those are super open ended and very very cool to look at.
Yes. Wait, no. Tygum's really cool with Omen cards. I'm going back to it because you would cast the one side of it for the Omen part. If it's your second spell, it just exiles the card before it shuffles into your library. You get to still cast the Omen half of it, and then in 4 turns you can cast the creature side of it from exile for free. Wait a second, hold on here.
The creature with haste as well, by the way. Creatures coming in off
Suspend. Oh, it's haste. So complicated. Why is Suspend like this? Why do we have to remember that creatures gain haste off of Suspend? That is, somebody's gonna get got at pre-release because they didn't realize they could swing with their card.
Surprise!
That's very very fun. So that's Flurry, which is obviously the Jeskai mechanic of the set. Let's talk Mobilize. Do you have a Mobilize card you want to talk about? Because I definitely want to talk about this mechanic.
Go for it. No, go ahead. I kind of stole your thunder on Flurry, so go ahead, take Mobilize.
Sorry, let me find the Mobilize card I was going to talk about. Mobilize is the Mardu mechanic of the set, which is just Mardu's about hitting people fast. So Mobilize plays really well into that. So Voice of Victory was a card that was spoiled. It's 1 and a white for a 1/3 with Mobilize 2, and your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. So that's the easy part. Let's go back to Mobilize. This is like a Grand Abolisher light. Mobilize is whenever this creature attacks, create 2 tapped and attacking 1/1 red warrior creature tokens and sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. That's so sick. It just like puts tokens on that are hasty and attacking and then sacrifices them on the end step. Very, very cool. There's just, you can also choose in Commander, you can choose who those tokens are attacking. So it sort of can act like Myriad in some interesting ways.
Ooh, I hadn't thought about that actually.
Yeah, because it doesn't say attacking that player. It just says tapped and attacking. So when they come in, you're not declaring them as attacking, but you do have to choose who or what they're attacking. Mobilize. So you can attack with your Voice of Victory at the person who has no blockers or no relevant blockers, and then you can just send 2 1/1s another way if you want to, or add a Planeswalker or somewhere else. So it's a really clean mechanic. I think it's really sick. I think that it will need quite a bit of love to actually make it like a viable strategy.
Yeah, because it sucks you don't get to keep those creature tokens.
Exactly.
That's the big thing. But they're probably like, we'll probably see Mobilize go up to like certain higher bits of number, I guess. Like, I mean, like, they can't make it too terribly high on one single creature. Otherwise, that's literally an army in a box.
Right.
But, which is cool, which is very, very cool. But, I mean, you could build this in a couple different directions. Like, you could be, like, combat-focused aristocrats. That could be super cool,
totally.
right?
Super sick. Imagine, like, playing Caesar from the Fallout set, which cares about artifact, or cares about tokens, like attacking, entering, dying, the whole thing. You also,
oh goodness, Mobilize with Mirkwood bats. Oh no!
Oh no! Why did you say that? Don't give them ideas like that, John.
That's creating and sacrificing all in one combat.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. That's so fun. Oh my god, that's so sick. It's also good. Shout out Data Priest in our Discord. Link down below. You can join for free. He plays a Master Multiplied deck, which just says that tokens can't be sacrificed. So this would anything from this is going to boost that deck's power a little bit as well.
That's silly.
Silly stuff. Speaking of tokens, Endure is a new mechanic as well.
Let me I like this one a lot.
You tell me about it, John, while I'm looking for the cards.
Sure. Let's talk about Anafenza, Unyielding Lineage, who's got an Enduring on her as well. I hope you like Fabricate, because we're doing that again.
We're doing Fabricate again. That's the exact note I took. Like Fabricate.
Anafenza is 2 and a white for a 2/2 Legendary Spirit Soldier. Flash, first strike, and whenever another non-token creature you control dies, Anafenza endures 2. Endure is putting either a determined number of +1/+1 counters on the creature that endures, or creating a N determined spirit token. So in the case of Anafenza, anytime she would endure, because her endure is 2, she could either put 2 +1/+1 counters on herself, or create you a 2/2 spirit.
Sick. I like it. I like Fabricate. I like Endure.
These are, to be clear, to preface on this, by the way, these are spirit tokens that don't fly. So that's very important.
So many people are just going to reach into their token box and grab a 1/1 with flying token, and it's going to be a whole thing.
No, but it's neat.
Yeah,
I'm
good.
Yeah, if you're trying to go wide on creatures, obviously Anafenza is a special case of like her triggers off of just dying, but I'm sure Endure will be available across a variety of trigger words on here as well.
I'm sure that we'll get a 1/1 with Endure 1 that either, or like 2 mana, 1/1 Endure 1 that either comes in as a 2/2 or as 2 1/1s. That's going to be like the hallmark Endure card for limited.
Yep. This one is super flexible. I like this a lot. Powerful. Yeah. I mean, it's just going to depend on what direction you want to build it in. But just I mean, it pairs very, very well with some of the, like, especially the Mobilize mechanics as well. Like if you're doing both Mobilize and Endure, you could go like super wide with tokens.
Definitely. If they
seems very fun.
If they make a sort of an Endure version of Marionette Master, which to me is the most powerful of the Fabricate cards, if they make an Endure sort of version of that cares about tokens dying or like its own power, to where it, like no matter where you are in the game, it's gonna help you kind of find your little fingers toward a victory, then it's gonna be great. But if it's just kind of falls flat, I think it might fall flat. I'm not immediately powerful, but I'm sure it'll be stapled onto very powerful cards, is what I'm trying to say.
Super neat, super neat.
Yeah. And then last mechanic that's been spoiled is Harmonize, which I think that you're a big fan of, John. I can tell.
Love me some.
This is the Timmer mechanic, so I
Yay!
know what's happening. I think that they need to reprint a new Harmonize that has Harmonize as well, so that it can say like Harmonize 2 and then have the ability of Harmonize. So Harmonize is an ability. It's like Flashback. So you cast it from your graveyard, except you get to reduce its cost by X, where X is the power of a creature that you tapped as you're casting it. So my note for it was that it's like Flashback with Convoke equal to a creature's power. It's complex,
Neat.
but very, very good. I mean, Flashback in and of itself is a very good mechanic. So I'm expecting Harmonize to be quite good as well. A card that was spoiled with Harmonize is Roamer's Routine. So this is 2 and a green. It is a sorcery that searches your library for a basic land, puts it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. And then it has Harmonize 4 and a green. So let's say you have something with power 4, you could tap that creature, pay a single green mana. Now you've paid for its Harmonize cost. You can go and fetch another basic. I don't think the card is particularly powerful, but it is showcasing how Harmonize can kind of take you through a couple of different stages of the game.
I mean, again, that seems to be kind of a very big overlaying theme of a lot of these mechanics, is just getting either 2-for-1 value or modal purpose of them as well. It's great. They've done a great job. I don't necessarily I don't dislike any of these.
100%.
I think all of these keywords are pretty great.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is that these all seem like unbelievable mechanics, and like I'm excited to play them both in limited. I'm excited to play them in draft, yes, both of the same thing. Let me just reiterate the same thing. I'm excited to play them in Commander. I'm excited to play them in Limited. This so far, just based on the mechanics and a few of the previews shown, it should be in my top 10 sets easily.
Oh, yeah.
So that's all of the mechanics for the set that we've gone over. John, are there any other exciting cards that you want to talk about before we kind of get to some general notes about the set?
Can we just talk that Hoof is here?
Hey, Hoof reprint. Yep. I'll check that off of my notes.
We got him, boys.
Standard Crater Hoof for the first time since original Innistrad when it was printed. This is its first standard reprint.
Which I believe also puts it in Pioneer.
It will certainly... Well, it's already been in Pioneer. It will be put into Pioneer.
Innistrad's the cutoff for Pioneer, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know if either of us have the authority to say any of that, but
I think Innistrad's last big culprit that needs to be in Pioneer is Snap. Other than that, everything else from Innistrad now is in Pioneer.
Interesting. So Crater Hoof in Standard. I don't know what the implications are for it in Standard. I'm really excited that it's getting an actual meaningful reprint in a Standard set, because let me explain what I mean by meaningful reprint, because we had some discussion of this come up on the Discord, because we're also talking about fetches that are being reprinted as special guests in this set.
Yeah, you called that, by the way. If you a couple episodes back, we were talking about this set.
I did.
You said fetch lands, and special guest slot. You called it.
Yeah, I remember calling that. Roll the tape. I mean, to be fair, it was an obvious choice. Like, fetches, Cons of Tarkir is defined by having fetches in its packs. So there was no way that they weren't going to include them in some way, shape, or form. So I would say that the Crater Hoof reprint is a meaningful reprint, whereas the special guest fetches are not a meaningful reprint. What I mean by that is, if you think of all of Magic economy as supply versus demand, like any economy is, if it just gets reprinted, but it's in the special guest slot, which is like 1 to 2 special guests per box,
something like that,
it just doesn't increase the supply enough to meet demand to where the price would lower for some things. I wouldn't expect the prices of fetches overall to lower because of a special guest slot. However, a reprint in a standard set, even though it's a mythic, which is maybe 5 to 10 mythics per box on a really good box, maybe closer to 3 to 5 mythics per box. But in a couple of different, prints and variations and things like that, this will meaningfully increase the supply of the card, which should help to alleviate some of that demand and bring the cost of Crater Hoof Behemoth down. I wouldn't expect this to stay at a $40 card or whatever it is right now. I would say if it dips below 20, I will be shocked. But
well, your check for that would be the Innistrad Remastered one. Like, that was even more scarce than probably what this is going to end up being. So,
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, a print in Innistrad Remastered of a set that was not super opened in a supplemental set, like that just had like a very short lifespan, I would say is not a meaningful reprint either. This printing in Standard is an unbelievably meaningful way to bring the cost of a card down, even though WotC doesn't acknowledge the secondary market. Big fat air quotes around that one.
But I mean, it's just cool to see him here. Very
100%.
cool.
And it's beautiful art as well. The flavor text on it, have you read that?
Yeah, the some days you just wish you were fighting a dragon.
Yeah. And then on the one of the variations, it's from Ugin, and it says, "Some days you wish you were fighting an Eldrazi," from Ugin.
I didn't see that one. That's very funny.
So funny. So that's the Craterhoof Behemoth.
Yeah. What do you got? What's stand out to you?
Also, probably notable to talk about the Spirit Dragons, right? These are
some of them anyway.
These are the patrons of the clans. So the Khans are the leaders of the clans, and the Spirit Dragons are the patrons of it. They embody what the clan is doing. There was some very cool ones spoiled. I don't know if we really have time to talk about all of them specifically, but each one of them, like Ureni, the song Unending, is 5 green, blue, and red. They're all legendary creature spirit dragons. This one it's a 10/10. My God. It has flying and protection from white and black. And then when it enters, it deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers your opponents control, where X is the number of lands you control. So it just like meteor strikes all of your lands to divide it however you choose when it enters. So those were neat. We've talked about all of that. Oh, John, do you want to talk about the Funko Pop cards?
Yeah. Oh, they're doing one of the treatments they're doing for some of these dragons is like the dragons are coming in like borderless art, but the cards are also going to be printed double-sided, that you can have the regular dragon art on the one side of it, and then on the other side is the same like appearance, a style of the dragon, but it's just like it's all scrunchy and it's got the
Cute.
Big head mode.
Yeah, my thought is it's like the cute to brute secret layer deck where like it flips into something cute and it's like devilish on the other side. So that's what the treatment they're doing for the dragons, and that will be accompanied by a secret layer drop of all of the original Khans dragon lords that will
that
be
same
in that treatment
style
as well, just to complete your cycle for all of your Tarkir dragons that you want to play as your little Spyro behind you. That's a good. I found your Easter egg today, John.
Yeah, he's here.
I love that. Yeah, it's the Funko Pop cards is what we're calling them.
Let's see. Have got any other cards we're looking at the moment here?
Oh, if you want to talk about a cool card, I can go card for card with you, because there is a very, very sick one that I am ready to play.
How about just real quick, let's bring up Elspeth real quick, because I think this is really cool. This is really cool. Elspeth Stormslayer is what the other planeswalker in this set. 3 and double white, 5 loyalty Elspeth. Static ability, 1 or more tokens would be created under your control. Twice that many tokens are created instead. Hooray!
Give us Anointed Procession.
Welcome back, Anointed. Welcome back, Anointed Procession. We missed you. Which is cool, because that plays then into her own abilities of her +1 creating a 1/1 white soldier creature token. That's very cool. 0 puts a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, and they gain flying until your next turn.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Aha, I didn't catch that either.
Flying blockers as well is really cool.
And a -3 to destroy target creature an opponent controls with mana value 3 or greater.
Dang.
So
how much did you come in with?
5.
Nice. Oh, so you could immediately nuke something or make tokens or make your win the game by making your creatures bigger and make them fly.
Yep. So this is one of those kinds of planeswalkers that doesn't necessarily have an ultimate per se, like Ugin does. It's just
spoiler alert. Planeswalkers without ultimates are better planeswalkers.
Yeah, this is just gonna sit here and keep you. Like, the goal with a card like this is obviously using her own token production to keep her safe so that you don't, because this is an Anointed Procession that can be attacked, and that sucks. So
Yes.
you're gonna use her own token abilities and her removal abilities to keep her safe so that your token output stays perpetual.
Absolutely. I like to look at cards like this, and especially how I evaluate planeswalkers is giving a like cost analysis on it, mana value wise. So like, well, I already talked about Anointed Procession. We know that static ability you can get on Anointed Procession for 4 mana. So 4 of her mana is devoted to the Anointed Procession ability. And if you only ever get the Anointed Procession and do her -3, which just nukes a non-land. Oh, it's a creature. Destroys a creature with mana value 3 or a meaningful creature, mana value 3 or greater. That means that ability only costs you 1 extra mana from Anointed Procession to be a removal spell stapled onto it. And then for the rest of the game that it sits there, it's going to continue to generate you tokens for free and then give you that, like, my tokens win the game, which is a staple for Elspeth. Elspeth almost always has make a token, make it bigger, win the game as like abilities on her. And they've done that and also threw on a removal spell on top of it. So this to me, I've been around Elspeth for a minute. The Elspeth, the first one, the 6 mana one from Theros, is to me still the best of the Elspeths. This is an unbelievably close second and they play super well together. I'm ready for Oops All Elspeth.
And that's not even the first Elspeth card, by the way. The Sun's Champion.
Oh, that was the first real Elspeth card.
Okay, hey, don't shrug off Knight Errant. That thing is sick.
It's fine. It's totally fine. That's very funny.
Last cool card I saw from today that I think is just kind of cute, kind of interesting, is called Strategic Betrayal.
Okay.
Is 1 and a black for a sorcery. Target opponent exiles a creature they control and their graveyard.
Oh, that's so sick.
Now, you don't get to pick the creature that they exile, but you just also snag their graveyard on an edict.
Yes. Oh, that's
on an
good.
exile edict. So it won't trigger death triggers. You know,
it does suck that it's target opponent.
Yeah, but
we'll have to say that.
I think it's cute. I think it's fun.
It's very, very good. Yeah, I like this a lot.
Hit the person who's doing heavy graveyard. If they're not necessarily doing like graveyard token, you're going to force them to eat one of their graveyard utility creatures and their graveyard.
100%. Yeah. It's really good after, like, while somebody's building back from a board wipe, when they're like late in the game and they've played something that's really good that might maybe start reanimating the rest of their graveyard or whatever. You can just
like their commander.
Like their commander. Yeah, you just go, oh man, that's just how to make someone cry.
7 mana commander, 7 mana commander, pass, betrayal.
If you did that to me while I was playing Slimefoot and Squee, I would just start scooping my card.
You would get the sapper. You would hit the sapper.
But exiling the graveyard is the important part. So see, even there, like both of those abilities become relevant at some point. If all it is exile your graveyard and it happens to staple some edict effect onto it, that's fine. And if it is just edict one player and it happens to exile their graveyard, you're just going to have a great time. Either way.
I'm in. I'm sick. All right, what else you got?
Oh, dude, I gotta talk about Sidisi.
Oh, Sidisi? Sick. Talk to me about
Graveyard Birthing Pod. So new Sidisi, which, my God, we have about 14 Sidisis at this point, and they're all insane. This Sidisi is Sidisi Regent of the Mire. She's a 2 mana, 1/3. It's 1 and a black. 1/3 legendary creature, zombie snake, warlock. Oh my God, that type line is so small. We Yu-Gi-Oh now, boys.
F to Naga.
Yeah, goodbye, Naga. I'm glad, though, that they combined Nagas and snakes into one. Grateful for that. So the ability she has is tap, sacrifice a creature you control with mana value X, other than Sidisi. So when you sacrifice it, it'll check X for its mana value. And you return target creature with mana value X +1 from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. Dude, this is Birthing Pod from the graveyard. It's exactly Birthing Pod, except the creatures have to be in your graveyard, not in your library. Okay, I'm already doing that. I wish that Birthing Pod could grab from the graveyard. Dude, this is so
what is
sick.
What is this? Sacrifice Slimefoot and Squee, reanimate. What's a 5 mana thing? You play in there.
Who cares? Sacrifice Slimefoot and Squee and get the 4 mana thing that entombs when it enters.
Oh yeah, Violent
Go get a
Tumor.
5-drop. Like I'm saying, we can make a Sidisi pod combo of just like entomb, 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 entomb until you get to, I don't know, whatever you want at the top end. This is how pod works. I'm not your dad. Go play whatever you want at the top end of your pod. It's gonna be gruff triplets for me. That's my 6. Guarantee you that.
This is great.
Oh man, but like you get value in this as well of like oh my god, dude, like you're a cursed marauders. Like you play in a cursed marauder on 2, and then you can just sack a mana dork to bring it back a cursed marauder again, and then like you play a 3-drop with an ETB, and then you play a reclamation sage, nuke an artifact, crack it, gets up a 4-drop, it gets the entomb thing. Like, oh my god, pod value combos are the most selfish thing that you could be playing at a Magic table. I will admit it's solitaire. I totally get it. It's annoying, but
Here we go. Step
good.
one. Step 1. Your 1-drop is Stitcher Supplier. Step 2 is a Cursed Marauder. Step 3 is Fleshbag Marauder. Step 4 is Violent Tumor.
To be clear, as we're talking about the Marauders, this is activated only as a sorcery. So you're not going to be able to like, oh, I play my Edict creature and sacrifice it in response. Like you can't do like cuteness like that. But like if you're just playing value 2-drops and 3-drops and 4-drops, which hey, I'm doing that. This is just gonna turn them into bigger creatures from the graveyard, and then like God forbid you have like Phyrexian Dragon Engine in the graveyard, and you're like, oh, all this cares about is something coming in from the graveyard. Chainer, Dementia, Mass Nightmare, Dementia, whatever. The red-black Chainer that just says creatures coming in from the graveyard have haste, so you can like,
ooh,
it's so good.
Isn't there an uncommon in Standard that if it comes in from the graveyard, it sacks itself and turns into a demon?
Yes, I couldn't tell you the name of it, but it's a 3-drop that comes back, puts 2+1/+1 counters on itself, and become. I will be playing this in Standard. Thank you for saying that.
No, not that one. It's like a 1-drop, I think. It's like a 1-drop that if it enters the battlefield
that's not in Standard.
You don't think so?
That's not been in Standard for a minute. I don't remember that name either, but it's.
Do you know what? Okay, that thing. That sounds real stupid
if it
to do.
enters from the graveyard, but you would have to sacrifice a token to go and get it back as a 1-drop. Exactly.
Oh no, here's a zombie.
Oh no, here's a sapperling from the thing. Again, like this is so targeted at my like Slimefoot and Squee deck that I already am playing Birthing Pod in. Like I already am doing this. So this is functionally a second Birthing Pod for the deck. It's so sick.
Excellent.
That was all. I needed to gush about Sidisi for a second. The only other things that I had written down about the stream that I think are worth covering is we're getting all of the clan colored ultimatums in special guests as well, which are gonna rip in limited. I'm going to certainly try to make them happen. I'm very excited to play this deck, this set in draft. To be clear, like this looks insane in draft. So much value, so much flexibility. It's gonna be I love 3-color sets. It's so much fun. I always want to splash anyway. Like, and then a special note for pre-release. As we get to it, it's the return of seeded boosters for pre-release.
Yes.
Did you see this as well? So each of your pre-release kits are going to be for one of the clans, and there will be a clan-specific booster pack, promo, I don't know, that's in it that you'll guaranteed be able to play something from that clan's color. The reason they did away with this is because there's always one of them that's the best. So my hope is that they've balanced the seeded packs to where like it actually becomes play whichever clan you like the best rather than play this clan because this card is in this seeded booster pack.
I think the last time they did like a seeded booster thingy like this before, they did balance it in such a way that whichever clan that you'll choose, your seeded pack could come with a promo stamped rare that's only from a select pool that could be from that clan, and then your other dated stamped promo card could be anything from the set.
Yep, exactly. Which again makes pre-release very fun because you guaranteed get a playable rare in your color.
That was New Capenna last time they did that.
That makes sense. It was a shard set because it was like Grixis, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
and Jund. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense that they brought that back. So remember when they did the Ravnica sets and it was like they put out 10 seeded boosters and it was like maybe the Azorius one was the best. So it was just like whoever signed up for pre-release first, they just went in order and handed out.
They did seeded pre-release the last time we were on Tarkir, actually. You know?
Dang, you're right. They were doing those for most of the pre-releases until they kind of shut that down.
You definitely can't see it, but up on the wall of mine, way up there, is my bundle wrap for Tarkir, and attached to it is all of my pre-release buttons from the Tarkir thing. They're all up there.
Some days you're the Oracle, and some days you're the Collector.
You got it. And on that closing note, we'd love to hear from you about what you're most excited for as far as Tarkir is concerned. What's your favorite collection of clan colors? What's your big stompy dragon deck that you're looking to play?
Yeah,
over
which
these
dragon
coming
is
months?
best dragon?
Oh, best dragon. Oh, I don't even know best dragon off the top of my head, but
Ugin. It's Ugin all the time. 100% of the time it's Ugin.
He's not a dragon. You know what I mean? He's not like a dragon card.
Okay, technicality, I get you.
So, thanks everybody for coming along on this Tarkir journey with us, and I believe we'll be talking to you real soon then about the pre-cons that are going to be coming out with this set.
5 pre-cons. We still need to figure out how we're going to do this.
We'll figure it out.
Thank y'all so much for watching. We will see you so soon on the MTG Thoughtcast.
Hi, gang. Are you interested in talking about some dragons? Have you always ever wanted to be a dragon? Welcome to the world of Tarkir, where we are going to be settling in on the dragons of the Tarkir.
What's up?
Nothing. I was doing dragon ASMR.
Oh, sick. It's still recording too, so that's in there. That's in there permanently. You should throw that as a post-credit scene. John's Dragon ASMR post. Actually, you should start including post-credit scenes. I need that. So we have a cold open and a post-credit scene.
All of this.
Yeah. All of this.
This is how meta we get.
Honestly, goodbye, everybody.